Hey guys, this is Chris from Empire Bricks and welcome to every LEGO Star Wars Rogue One minifigure ever made. So it has been a while since we've seen the Rogue One wave of sets, and it's very probable that we will not be seeing any new Rogue One sets soon, so it's a great time to have a look at all the fantastic minifigures that those sets gave us. I ordered them in order of appearance or importance, starting with the Rebels, which have the most minifigures, and then the Imperial figures, which are a little bit less. So let's dive in and start with the first minifigure and the main character of the Rogue One movie, being Jyn Erso. This is the one of two versions that we get in this wave, and this particular one is from the U-Wing fighter set. It comes with a lot of accessories and gear, so this poncho style cloth piece, a satchel bag, this brick-built rocket launcher, which actually looks like the First Order riot batons that we have seen in other sets, and this very detailed headpiece or hairpiece, because it is both. It has a detachable visor and comes with the hair attached to the helmet. As you can see, if we remove it, you can see an angry secondary face for Jyn, and we can see that it has a microphone on the side. On Bricklink, this figure currently goes for about $8. Going on to the next figure of this series, it's another Jyn Erso figure, the second of this wave, making the second of two total. It is Jyn Erso in her Imperial ground crew disguise. This minifigure is from the Battle of Scarif set, and basically the only thing that make this a Jyn Erso figure are the head and the hair, because in that set it actually comes with a Imperial ground crew helmet, and if you put that on, she is indistinguishable from any other regular ground crew from the Empire. If we take the hair back on, we can see that she has the same same head as the previous figure, and the same secondary face. And on Bricklink, this figure currently goes for about $4. Putting her back, going to one of the other main characters of the movie, of course being Cassian Andor. This is the version that we get in the U-Wing fighter set, and he is wearing his Jedi Pilgrim disguise, a little bit of a scruffy look for him. He has a double-sided face with a grin on the front and a kind of suspicious look on the back, and he has a relatively simple hairpiece that we have seen on other figures such as Han Solo, and this figure also currently sells for around $4 on Bricklink. Next figure is a second iteration of this character, being the second version of Cassian Andor. He comes in the Battle of Scarif set as well, and in this case he is wearing his Rebel Alliance uniform. He has the same hair and headpiece as the previous character, but just has a more Rebel look and a very simple backprint. All the rest is just the same as the previous character. This character goes on Bricklink for around $4 as well. Moving on, we get one of our new favorite characters for a lot of people, and that is Chirrut Imwe. We get this figure from the Imperial Hovertank set, and he actually comes with some brick-built gear. He has a bowcaster kind of weapon in his hand that is kind of similar to what Chewie wears, although this is based on a large regular blaster. On the back, he is wearing a large stick with which he can fight. He's also wearing a cloth piece as a waistcape, which is bigger than the regular waistcapes that we've seen on some Imperial Stormtroopers or Snowtroopers. His face is kind of special with the eyes without pupils, making it look like he is blind, which he is in the movie. Underneath the hairpiece, we can see that this character has a more stern secondary face. And a small detail is that they actually gave him a glove, because if we look at his hands, we can see that one is actually flesh colored and the other one has a white glove on it. This figure currently sells on Bricklink for around $6. Moving on, we get to Chirrut Imwe's companion in the movie, being Baze Malbus. We get this figure from the AT-ST set, and just like Chirrut, he comes with several brick-built accessories, being this heavy repeating laser gun and some gear on his backpack. He has some power cells printed on his torso, and this is one of the figures that comes with a lot of pieces to actually build his gear. He also has a little bit of a darker flesh tone, and underneath the hairpiece we can see that he has a kind of friendly face on the front and a more aggressive battle face on the back. This figure goes on Bricklink for around $6 as well, just as Chirrut Imwe. Moving on to the next figure, a maybe less main character than the rest, but at least such as important, being Bohdi Rook. He is the one that comes in the Krenic Imperial Shuttle set. He has some cable equipment on the back with which he, in the movie, tries to reach the master switch, so that's a very cool detail. It uses actually several bricks and has quite some depth to it, making it a little bit hard to put him in front of anything because he has a pretty big backpack. His hairpiece is the same that we have seen on, for example, Rebels figure Jyn Erso, and he has the same darker flesh tone as Baze Malbus. His face has a goggle piece on the front, since he is a cargo pilot, and on the back, underneath the hair, we can see a more happy face on the other side, but the goggles seem to be the appropriate look for Bohdi in the movie. This figure goes on Bricklink for around $5 at the moment. Next up is everybody's new favorite sarcastic droid. It is K2SO, and he also comes from Krenic Imperial Shuttle. This character comes with some unique pieces, being the torso and headpiece, with some great prints on it. The legs are actually the same piece as we have seen with the super battle droids, and the arm pieces are those that we see on every regular battle droid. Although this is K2SO, he could actually be any regular Imperial security droid. Only thing is that he has some battle damage on his head, being not as shiny as any new Imperial droid, making him look a little bit like a rebel, I guess. This figure currently goes for around $10 on Bricklink, being one of the more expensive figures from this wave. Next up is a figure that is not maybe a main character, but still a very important and cool character to have. It's Admiral Raddus. This figure comes with the Y-Wing fighter set, and he has some Imperial insignia on his front and a very neat and clean uniform print. Fun fact is that, of course, his mold for the head is the same as Admiral Ackbar, since they are both Mon Calamari, and it's very cool to have another Mon Calamari figure in Lego. And this figure goes for around $6 on Bricklink at the moment. Now we get a few new characters that don't get that much screen time, but actually are all very important and are from new races that we haven't seen before in the Star Wars universe. Starting with this one being Moroff. He comes with the Y-Wing fighter set as well, and he is the figure that has the most pieces to it for this wave. The figure plus equipment equals 17 pieces. And this particular figure has a unique mold for the headpiece, being a similar style piece as those of the Wookiees, having a head and a piece that falls in front of the torso. And he is from the Gigoran species, which we haven't seen made in Lego before. On Bricklink, this figure sells for around $7. Being the first of three, we go to the second of a new species and another figure that does not get that much screen time, and that being Pow. He comes from the Krenic Imperial Shuttle set, and he is also from another planet that we haven't heard so much before. It's Yakar. He only gets a few seconds on screen time, of which this face is the most famous. If we look underneath, we can actually see that he has another kind of angry or even scary face on the back. And one of the things that makes this character very unique is that he has a sticker on his backpack, which is something that we don't see with figures that much. So he is around $5 on Bricklink at the moment. And I made a small error, but he is not from the planet of Yakar, but he is from the Dravatan species, because from the planet Yakar is actually the next figure, and the third of the new species that we get, it is Bistan. And Bistan comes from the U-Wing fighter set. He is, like I said, from the planet Yakar, and another new species to add to the Lego Star Wars universe. He has some really cool printing on the front, but not that much special in the back. At a first glance, this mold for the hat looks a bit like the mold for Ankar Plut, but it's actually different. although I think that this particular mold is not very good at expressing that this is actually a furry creature, which is very hard to tell by the look and print of this current figure. And this guy sells for around $5.50 on Bricklink. Putting him back, we get to some more regular troops, being some pilots first. We get to the U-Wing or Y-Wing fighter pilot. He comes, as the name says, in both the U-Wing fighter and Y-Wing fighter set, and he's officially called the Blue Squadron pilot. He has some regular rebel pilot printing on the front and back. He has a secondary face, of which the first is kind of smiling, and the other one looks like he's going to crash. And this is actually a figure that looks very similar to another pilot in the series, but what makes him unique is the helmet piece, which has a unique print for this specific figure. Going on to the next one, we get the actual U-Wing pilot, and this figure comes with the U-Wing microfighter set, and kind of weirdly, this guy is more detailed and has a very cool helmet, a better helmet than the one that comes with the much more expensive and more complicated U-Wing playset. So this guy has a dual molded helmet with some very cool colors on it and a transparent visor on the front. He is in print very different from the other pilots, but the idea is very similar. On the front he has a smirking face, and on the back he has a more angry face, which kind of resembles the angry clone face that we know from all the clone troopers and stormtroopers that we have seen in other sets as well. Moving on, we go to the third and last pilot for the Rebels, and this is the Y-Wing pilot. This guy comes from the Y-Wing microfighter set, and he is virtually or completely identical to the Y-Wing and U-Wing playset version, except for the helmet print, which is very different in this case. Although I would have to say that it looks like he's from a Red Squadron or maybe a Red Leader, but he is not identified as such. So just a microfighter figure, but still a very cool figure to have. Those were the pilots. Now we get to some regular Rebel troopers. Going to the first one, being Rebel Trooper number 1 in many things, he comes in the TIE Striker set 75154, and his actual screen name is Private Bastion. He has the same face as the pilot that we have seen before. Even the smirk is the same, so this is no unique figure in many ways. He has a special helmet that is very unique for this wave. There is no one else with this helmet. And there is a print on the side with a Rebel insignia. Let's see if we can get that sharp. It's very hard. It's a very tiny mark, but it has some writings on his helmet. And this is the first of a lot of troopers. This guy sells for around $4 on Bricklink, just as most of the figures in this wave. The next one that we get is another Rebel Trooper, being a Rebel Trooper number 2 in this case, coming from the U-Wing fighter set. This guy's screen name is Corporal Askro Casrich, and he has another unique helmet, and on this one we can see the print a little bit more clearly. It's the same print, but this helmet is very unique for him and resembles a little bit the helmets that we know from the Rebel Troopers from A New Hope, which have the white helmets with the elongated back. This guy has a normal face on the front, but no secondary face at all, and has some camouflage prints and satchels and weaponry on his torso. Moving on, we get to the third Rebel Trooper. This one comes from the AT-ST set. His screen name is Lieutenant Sevla, and although he has a very detailed print, all the Rebel Trooper prints seem to look alike a little bit. He has a different helmet, which looks a little bit like a World War II World War II Allied style helmet, and he has some satchel details on his front torso. This figure sells for around $4 on Bricklink, just as many of the other standard Rebel Troopers. We get to another one. This is Corporal Rostock, is his screen name. He comes from the Rebel Trooper Battle Pack. This is a very generic figure. The figures from this battle pack all look alike, and they can be interchanged with heads torsos and stuff without really looking apart. The cool thing is that he comes with a helmet with a detachable visor, which you can actually put in the front or on top of the helmet. And if we look underneath that helmet, then he has no secondary face, which is kind of the the standard for troopers that come in a Rebel battle pack. And because he is from that battle pack, he is only $2 on Bricklink at the moment. Putting him back, we get to the second trooper from that battle pack. And as we can see, they are all very similar. The facial hair looks kind of similar. The helmet is the same, but a different color, but still with a detachable visor. Kind of similar details. And underneath that helmet, another one without a secondary face. Just like the last one, this one sells for around $2 on Bricklink. Next is the third trooper from that battle pack. He has similar printing again, different face though, although there is no secondary face. He does come with the same helmet that we have seen before on the other trooper from a playset, and he has the same insignia as all the troopers have on the side. This trooper, like the two before him, also costs around $2 on Bricklink. And we get to the last Rebel trooper, which is actually Corporal Tonk. That is his screen name. And like all the others, he has kind of regular printing. Same helmet as the one before him. And like all the others, he is around $2 on Bricklink. And these four guys from the battle pack make the cheapest minifigures from this total wave. So those are all the figures for the Rebels from the Rogue One wave. But there are still two astromech droids, of which the first one is R3S1. This is an astromech droid that we get from the Y-Wing fighter set. It's actually only one of 4 astromech droids that have a transparent head, making him relatively special. And this guy sells for $8 on Bricklink. This would have been every Rogue One Rebel minifigure, but there is one polybag that has set number 40268, and it has astromech R3M2 in it. Excuse me, we have, I've switched them around. This one is actually R3S1, and this one is the one from the polybag R3M2. You could actually buy this in some stores or get it for free at a certain amount of Lego Star Wars that you bought. The weird thing about this guy is that he's actually more expensive when he's out of the polybag than inside of the polybag, but either way you can get him for around $6 on Bricklink. Having said that, these were all the actual Rebel minifigures. We go on with the Imperial figures from this wave, of which, of course, we start in order of importance, and we have to start with Director Krenic. So, this is him. He comes from the Krenic's Imperial Shuttle set, of course. He is the only Krenic figure that was ever made, and what makes him very unique is this white cape, of which he is the only figure to ever get one of these. Making it extra special is that this cape is made of the softer cloth material that is used for the newer figures. And he is one of the more expensive figures from the Rogue One sets, being sold for around $11 on Bricklink. Putting him down, the next figure is one of his very loyal bodyguards. It's actually a Death Trooper, but not a standard one. This is a Death Trooper with a pauldron on his elbows. And it's very dark, but he has some relatively simple printing. Let's see if we can get this sharp. Simple printing on his torso, showing some ammo, grenades, and satchels. His face is an angry clone face. On the back he has very similar simple printing. And he has his special Death Trooper helmet. These Death Troopers sell for around $7 on Bricklink, although the one thing that makes them very expensive is the pauldron. In anything else, they are the same as the regular Death Troopers, which come in the Imperial Trooper Battle Pack. They are almost the same, although they actually have different printing on the torso. All the rest is the same. The helmet print is the same. The head is another angry clone face, and one of the differences is that there is no pauldron for this figure, making them a lot cheaper because they are in a battle pack. These are being sold for around $3 on Bricklink. Having had all the Death Troopers, we get to the Shoretroopers. We get the first one, which is the Shoretrooper Squad Leader. He's actually from a polybag as well, which has set number 40176. This one is actually very special and is pretty rare to get. He comes with a waist cape made of cloth, although you can see that this one is smaller than the one we've seen on Chirrut Imwe before. It doesn't close on the front, and what makes him a squad leader are the 2 blue arms that he has. Underneath the helmet there's a standard angry clone face, and he has some simple trooper printing on the back. Putting him back, this guy sells for around $10 on Bricklink, but we get another Shoretrooper from this wave, being the Shoretrooper Captain. He looks very much the same as the squad leader, but he is different in coloring. As you can see, he has only one colored arm, and instead of a tan torso, his torso is blue, making this guy the Shoretrooper Captain. Underneath the helmet is another angry clone face, and the helmet is exactly identical to the squad leader figure. Back is the same as well, and this minifigure sells for around $8 on Bricklink, bringing us to the very last of the Shoretroopers we get from the Rogue One sets, being the regular Shoretrooper. As you can see, there is less detailing on this guy, although the print seems about the same. There is no blue arms, no blue torso, just some satchels on his legs, some standard trooper gear on his torso and back, and underneath is another angry clone face with exactly the same helmet as his 2 predecessors, and this guy sells for around $6 on Bricklink. Next up is the Imperial Hovertank pilot from the Imperial Hovertank set. He has the same helmet mold as the Shoretrooper, but had different print on it. Being completely white, his print looks a lot like the Shoretrooper, but the coloring makes this guy look very different, although he is very similar in many other ways. Underneath the helmet is another angry clone face, which we see with a lot of troopers these days. And this guy comes from the Imperial Hovertank set, of course, and sells for around $4 on Bricklink. Moving on, we have had all the regular or specialized troopers. We get to the first pilot of this wave of sets, and it is the TIE Striker pilot. This guy comes from the TIE Striker and the TIE Striker Microfighter set, and he is very unique, but the only thing that makes him unique are the 3 buckles on his belt, making him different from many of the other Imperial pilots that we have seen in previous sets. Also, he has 2 stripes on his face, which is not something standard for any TIE Fighter pilot. And this guy is relatively cheap because he comes in a playset as well as a Microfighter set, making this guy for around $3 on Bricklink. Putting him back, we get another pilot, or at least a driver. It is the AT-ST driver, coming from, of course, the AT-ST set. He looks a lot like many other AT-ST figures that we've had before. He has a double-sided face with the helmet strap printed on. What makes him unique, although, is the print on the helmet, which has a visor on it, making this figure different from all the other AT-ST drivers. And this figure sells for around $4 on Bricklink. Moving on, we get to the Imperial Ground Crew figure. This one comes from the Battle on Scarif set, and as you can see, this one looks very much similar to the disguised Jyn Erso figure that we've seen before. Although if we take the helmet off, you can see that there's actually a head with a microphone and a male face underneath, indicating that this is not actually Jyn Erso. And this one comes from the Battle of Scarif and the Advent Calendar from this year, 2017, and sells for around $4 on Bricklink. The next figure is a Imperial Shuttle pilot. Looks a lot like many Imperial officers that we've seen before, but this one comes from the Krenic Imperial Shuttle Microfighter. It is unique to that specific set, although there is not that much special about this guy, except for the combination of clothes, helmet, and hat. It might be the color that makes him unique, but there's not too much going on. No secondary face because you would have seen it underneath the hat that he is wearing. And on Bricklink, this guy sells for around $4. Brings us to the very last figure of this entire wave, being the Imperial Stormtrooper. We get this guy from the Y-Wing set, but he is also in the Imperial Trooper Battle Pack set. But he's actually the most common figure from this wave, because he is in many other sets, being 7 other sets that are not necessarily Rogue One, but have the exact same Stormtrooper figure in it. If we look underneath the helmet, he has, again, the angry clone face, and this guy is relatively cheap for around $3 on Bricklink. Having said that, we have reached the end of all these figures. I really hope you enjoyed looking at all these guys together. I'm really stoked that I have collected all the Rogue One sets and minifigures, including 2 polybags, being the R3 M2 figure and the Shoretrooper squad leader. If you want to see more about these Shoretroopers, I also have a every Shoretrooper ever made video. Please go check that out. If you did like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.